Are you ready, Producer Chaos?
Producer Boring, ready to go. She said boring.
You're not boring with this Adidas on. She came over here ready to work out. All right, y'all ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Coming to you from the Poorly Painted Studios in Cumming, Georgia, this is the Chuck and Z Show. And now, here's Chuck and Z.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Chuck and Z Show. Of course, I'm Chuck.
I'm Z.
And we also have
Producer Boring Sharon.
Producer Chaos.
Producer Boring Sharon.
Yeah, boring is not the word.
Oh, okay. Producer Competent Sharon.
Producer
So cool.
Cool cat Sharon.
Producer Chaos. That's going to be a shirt.
Oh, no.
For sure.
Cool cheetah Karen. Sharon.
So right before we started the podcast tonight, we were talking about our lovely fur baby, Ellie,
Yeah.
which is our, oh, don't look at me. She's our, how old is she now? 9?
Yeah, she's 9 now.
She's 9.
Wow.
She's a Chiweenie. She is a terror. She is one of the most neurotic dogs
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
We got her as the runt.
Right.
I think she's the only surviving member of her family.
I mean, I don't think her siblings survived.
I don't know where the rest of them went, but she was the smallest one.
Mm-hmm.
I
Do you want her to go to you?
Nah, she's good. She can stay there.
Okay. All right.
We'll get her in a minute.
Okay.
But when we first got her, she was, I mean, literally palm of my hand.
Yeah,
That's how
a
tiny she
pound.
was. And we weren't looking for a dog, but she attached herself to me. She followed me around, was yelping at my ankles. It should have been a sign
Yeah.
that
That
this
she was
dog
annoying.
was going to be extra. I should have known, but I took it as like, oh, this dog likes me, right? So I talk you into it. We bring her home, and I will say this before I rip into her and give her a hard time. She has been one of the calmest, most easy to get along with dogs. She has never snapped at anybody. At times when she probably should have, I've had to run kids off of her before because she just takes it.
Yeah.
She's a very, very sweet dog. But as I said, she's neurotic in that if anyone else is getting attention, she gets upset.
Yeah.
So an example would be like PG?
Yeah, PG.
PG?
Yeah.
All right. So if I hug my wife,
PG version. I thought you were doing like a nickname of a friend of yours when PG comes over or something like that.
when I hug my wife, she can't stand it. Starts yelping and barking and has to
Yeah.
come over and blah blah blah. And
She has to be involved somehow.
and no matter where she is in the house, if we're doing anything else, she can't stand it. She just hollers and yelps and blah blah blah, and then has to check on you
Yeah.
to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, she's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
But
But that protective side actually has another side. So tell them the story about July 4th when you went upside down starfish.
all right, so I was just telling this story to Sharon actually, but it was July 4th. I think it was either 2014 or 2015, but it was my first time on a tube on the back of a boat. Like I've never done water sports my whole entire life. I actually almost drowned when I was like 6 years old. So
Oh, Z.
the water really frightened me for a very long time. Like that was my Achilles heel. Anything that had to do with water, like I was like, no thanks. Only the shallow end for me. Thank you. But that 4th of July, we went out on a boat and with some friends and went tubing. And I was feeling pretty adventurous that day. And so got on the back of the boat on the tube, and the driver of the boat was just like, hey guys, are you doing good? I'm like, yeah, we're doing well. And apparently that means like go faster.
It's like the Great Outdoors. In the movie The Great Outdoors, that means go faster.
Yeah.
I think they're saying go faster.
Go faster. So he like hits this wake, and the tube flips. I go flying off.
Upside down starfish.
Upside down. I'm like not expecting to be flipped off of the boat. or off
Perfectly
of the tube.
silhouetted against the sky. Like just.
Were you terrified though, Chuck, seeing this
Oh,
happen?
yeah. It's like, oh my God.
That was fast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very fast.
And it's Lake Lanier. So Lake Lanier is a fun lake to go on and to enjoy, but it also has some kind of hidden mystery.
Yeah, there's
and
actually even a movie coming out about Lake Lanier right now about
What's underneath Lake
what's
Lanier?
underneath
Yeah.
Lake Lanier. I'll tell you what's not.
What?
Ghost.
So
Or
it,
Just
but,
so you know.
but it was
Or
a
Z.
yeah, I'm not under there, obviously. But
Thank
it was a town, right? So it's a man-made lake. So it was a town that they, flooded to create this lake, kind of like on that movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Right. They
Yeah.
did the same thing in Columbia where I grew up.
Yeah, Lake Murray.
Lake Murray.
So as I'm hitting the water, obviously I'm not expecting to be and so I don't brace. I hit the water, smack into the water. I hit a limb or something that's underneath the water, and I come up, and Ellie proceeds.
So just so you know, for us on the boat,
Yeah,
obviously I'm concerned about you.
but it was fun.
But
You
the
guys are
goal of the people on the bike is to watch someone fly off the tube. That's
The
kind of
boat?
what we, right, of the people on the boat. Did I say what did I say?
Yes, a
Bike.
bike.
Oh, sorry.
So motorcycles.
I've always got motorcycles on the brain. If you're on something, it's usually a bike. All right. But no, the folks on the boat, they want that. That's the fun part, right? I didn't want it for you, right? But when you said go, I was like, oh no. She's never done this before, so does she? Then I was like, last moment for instructions, right? But I'm holding Ellie. Like
Yeah.
I have our dog with us on the boat. All right, go ahead.
So all I see when I come up is Chuck trying to keep Ellie onto the boat, but she's squirming and wiggling out of his arms,
I
and
couldn't
she
hold her.
flies off into the water, and she knows how to swim, so she's dog paddling. She comes to me.
I didn't teach her.
And she came into my life jacket and sits there. Is like, "Mommy, are you okay?"
Oh my God.
Sweet.
This little 7-pound dog felt like a tiger. I could not keep her on the boat. She was gone. And if it's funny, you said in her life jacket. So when we're pulling Z on the boat, literally Ellie is in her life jacket. Like her head's coming out of the armhole.
This
was
is the
so
sweetest
cute.
thing I've heard. I don't know love like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is she would sacrifice her life
I
for
know.
you and save you. And she's what, 3 pounds?
Yeah.
She's 7 pounds.
Oh,
and
7.
She hates water too.
Oh.
So when I'm giving her a bath, she hates me at that point. But she risked getting into the water for me. So
Yeah.
cute.
So her actual name is Eleanor Rigby.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yeah.
it really?
Yeah, because she's the loneliest.
Eleanor Rigby.
All right. So we actually. So what are you doing for the 4th, Sharon?
Oh, right. You told me you were going to ask me that.
I did.
By
It's
the
called
way-
pre-work.
It's me. Hello. Okay, I'm off. I don't actually know. I think I've got a fire pit in the back, and I was planning on just making
chilling?
Yeah, just chilling. I don't know if my daughter's coming over with her family or what, but
Nice.
what about you guys?
I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah. We're
We-
going to grill some burgers and probably light up and put the
Wa-
fire pit out.
Watch some America movies,
Yeah.
like Maverick.
Yeah.
There's an America playlist that is on Amazon Music that I listened to today for a little while, and I was curious what they consider America.
Right.
And it was actually great. It's a lot of country songs, God Bless the USA and all of that. But it got me in the spirit, actually.
There's
so.
a playlist
nice.
call Americana that I listen to every now and then, and it's all that, all pro red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember what we were doing a year ago this weekend?
But yeah.
We were
Yeah.
in Destin, riding in Florida without helmets. Do you remember?
Yes. We
Yes.
were bad for
Okay.
an hour.
It was kind of fun, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I enjoyed riding without the helmet for a minute.
I felt
but,
so uncomfortable.
But then eventually it was like I don't like this. I don't like stuff hitting me in the face.
yeah.
I don't like the fact that if I go down, I'm definitely going to get some facial damage
Right.
that's going to happen.
I think we all were like, yeah, let's do this, but this will probably be the only time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
true.
we felt safe around each other. We weren't going high speeds. It was like 35, 40 miles per hour. We're going down 30A. But I felt so, even sometimes riding without a jacket, I just feel so naked and bare and just unprotected that I get in my head. You know what I mean?
I get it.
I'd rather be protected. So,
I had one of my Carolina boys say to me, because, in South Carolina where I grew up,
yes.
you don't wear a helmet. But I've always worn a helmet. And he's like, what, you got something to live for? And I was like, well, yeah.
A lot.
What kind of question is that? What do you mean, do I have something to live for? Yes.
Family?
I want to be here.
I mean, myself, I want to live.
My dog.
My dog.
But I mean, it's such a, like, I always want to go, so you don't care. Then why are you here?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I've never understood like that whole mentality of, wow, you don't want to protect yourself. What is the issue with me protecting me?
Right. And vice versa. Like, if people don't want to wear helmets
If you don't want,
and want to ride however they want to ride, guess
do
what?
your thing.
Do you, boo boo?
Do you?
Yeah.
How
My
many
ex-
people do you think in on the 120th anniversary, in Milwaukee, there's no helmet law there, so that would be interesting.
We've seen a lot of, because we went to Sturgis last year, and in South Dakota, there's no helmet law either.
Oh.
And so you can ride without your helmet there. There were a lot of people riding without helmets, but then there were a lot of people that rode with helmets. So I think it's just kind of like people just do what you want to do.
Yeah, my
Ride how you
experience
ride.
doesn't have to be your experience in
Right.
order for us to enjoy both of our experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my thing is I don't understand why you wouldn't want to protect yourself when you're doing something that you have and again, I know that you're riding a bike, right? You're taking that, it's 1 in 900,
Yeah.
right? But why do you want to help it?
How do you want to like compound?
Is that the statistic?
It's like, yeah, you have a 900, it's like 900% higher risk of dying if you're riding a motorcycle versus a car or something like that. Some statistic. It's a significant risk, right? But my thing is don't help, right?
Yeah, don't add to it.
I mean, if you've already taken this risk, don't also not wear a helmet.
Yeah, but do you? Because I mean,
For me, this is me. This is what I think.
right.
There's some great sound bites tonight. By the way. My brain is like, yep, that one. Yep, that one. Okay.
Yeah, so 4th of July. So we're going to celebrate, America and its independence. And we even have our whiskey glasses have like the Declaration.
Oh, they do that, the Constitution on them.
Sorry, the Constitution on them.
I saw
so-
those and I had to get them. I mean, what's more like America than drinking some Kentucky bourbon without the Constitution wrapped around
I
it?
know. So this one has in Congress, July 4th, 1776.
Dang.
I'm a bicentennial baby.
Are you?
1976.
The Manamus
Yeah.
Declaration of the 13
I don't know
United
what that
States
means.
of America.
No one gave me anything for it.
Of being a what?
So everybody's like, "Oh, you're a bicentennial baby," and I was like,
Bicentennial.
"Great."
What I
That
get?
and $5, I'll get a cup of coffee probably.
Yeah.
There's not. It's like, "Oh, you're a bicentennial. Cool."
Well, I was born when Nixon was still president, so let's just move on from that one altogether.
Yeah.
I do love that you have things that kind of you can use seasonally like that. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it does
We're
make you
dorks.
feel no. I listened to music about America today. I'm a dork too, but it actually does kind of give you a good feeling.
All right. So for July 4th, because we've got so much coming up and we've had
Yeah.
so much going on. I mean, we've been running nonstop. We were like, "Do you want to do something for the 4th?" We were like, "You know what? Let's just chill, me and you, cook some burgers, watch some movies,
Yeah.
have a great time for it." But when it comes to that, we are absolute dorks. Every single holiday, we have a series of movies that we've assigned to those holidays that we watch. The Boondock Saints. That's St. Patrick's Day. Every year. We have to, at some
And
point,
we have to have a Guinness.
we have to put it on at some point.
Do you watch Groundhog Day on Groundhog?
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do.
Something better than that movie.
There's nothing better than Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
I watch it all the time. Like I expect it to be different.
I know.
I hear Bill Murray. You hear stories, right? Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, that they're like huge assholes. Mm-hmm. Well, so they have given me a lot of laughter over the years. You probably have earned the right to be a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
Be an asshole, Bill Murray.
So one dorky thing about me with the 4th of July, just speaking about American music and stuff, is that when I was so I grew up in Utah, West Valley City, Utah, and they're super patriotic in Utah. We have, I went to an elementary school that the Pioneers was our mascot.
Oh, that's your mascot.
Yeah, we're the Pioneers.
Who is y'all's biggest rival?
I don't know, but that was an elementary school.
It's like, we're the Tigers. Well, we're the Pioneers. We're going to discover your land.
I know, right?
It would be like Native Americans.
I think it was the Indian, yeah, like the Native Americans.
We're gonna attack your frontier.
I know. But it was really crazy because, like, in Utah, that's where a lot of people, obviously all around the state, right? The United States. But, like, people went out west to go for gold, right? So we had people going through Donner Pass. Like, that was, you know what I mean? Like, the mountains and going to California, trying to go to the gold, trying to live a life, trying to survive, whatever. Venture out into where they didn't know. But all the old like songs that came from the national anthem, all the old war songs, all the old Dixie songs, I was so into those. It's so weird that I know a lot of those songs.
So you're just sitting around your room listening to the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
I was like,
and you can sing too.
yeah, but it was funny. Like, I'm just sitting there singing those songs.
I've always thought it was inappropriate for them to call the Donner Party a party.
Why?
I know what they're saying. Like, they're saying the Donner Party, right?
Yeah,
like, they're referring to the group, right? Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, I didn't know what that meant, right? So every time I heard the Donner Party, I was like, this is a big old party that took place in Utah at some point.
Smorgasbord.
Then you get older and you go, holy shit, they ate each other?
They ate each other.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't want to go to that party.
Yeah. So our, like, social studies and history classes were pretty interesting, just to learn about everything that went on in Utah during those times and, like, how it became what it was. And
like, it was founded by Mormons.
Yeah. And, like, to hear about, like, that story.
What's that dude's name? The guy that ran for president?
Joseph. Who? Oh.
No, that guy's
Mitt Romney?
fascinating to me. Like, again, I love the stories of how cults, like, get started. Mm-hmm. I love it. So I just, it's not about the person saying it, right? It's just like with politicians. When politicians say things, I'm like, oh yeah, I expect them to say nonsense. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the people that line up and go, yeah, right? That's the thing that I don't get. So, like, the guy, Joe, what was his name? Joseph?
Yeah.
Y'all listen. This is
Joseph
what happened.
Smith.
This is what happened, y'all. Listen. I want to be clear. I was on the back of my farm in the hills.
He was like 15, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm in the hills in the back of my farm, and this angel appeared to me and said, you need to find these plates, these gold plates in the ground, and they're going to tell you the secrets of the universe, right? Oh, why'd you bury them in the ground? I don't get any of this stuff. Like, what? Why are these weird things happening, right? So he came to me. I'm nobody special. I just happen to be in proximity to the plates, right? All right. So there's no selection here. You can't say this is like a chosen person. I just happen to be nearby where this guy buried plates a long time ago, right? So he goes and digs these plates up, and then he bases a religion on it, which has gone through a lot of adjustments over the years as the marketing told them, hey, this doesn't fly anymore. You need to adjust. Yeah. And everybody around them went, that sounds like that happened. Mm-hmm. That sounds real to me. Mm-hmm. Let's devote our life, give all of our financial well-being to this. some 15-year-old kid who was a proven fraudster, who'd already been convicted of fraud previously, because I would have been like, where are the plates? They slipped through my fingers as soon as the angel was like, oh, they just vanished. But I memorized them.
Yeah.
That it blows my mind that that's the basis of a religion, and people will live, breathe, and die for that.
Well,
It's fascinating to me.
yeah. And I think that a lot of our religions have been founded that way.
I don't understand any of them. I don't understand any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I could get across to people that when I read these stories outside of how I was told to think about them, they don't sound that way to me. And what's crazy is I think a lot of people think that whenever I'm reading whatever I'm reading, I don't want to believe it. I want to believe it. I want it to be true. Because again, as I've said before, I don't like the alternative. I would love to believe all this stuff because that's very comforting as a human being to, oh, you know what? If I'm good here, there, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. But
Have you heard about the salamander letter that was associated with the Latter-day Saint movement?
no.
What's
Okay.
that about?
So it's a controversial document about the history of the Latter-day Saint movement that later proved to be a forgery. It was considered something that was from the movement's founder, Joseph Smith. It was considered like a holy document, but it was actually proved to be a forgery. I just happened to see that because I'm a nerd as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I just feel like a lot of these things that are now kind of proven to be not what they were, I feel like people just need to hold on to the fact that they believed it for so long that they can't come to grips with maybe it just wasn't true. And their whole life existence and what they believe is a fraud. But I don't feel that way.
It's not a
I don't feel
fraud,
like
though.
it should be that way. I feel like, all right, if that's something that you are leaning towards to be happy and that's what's keeping you sane and in the life that you have and happy with life and in love and in marriage and in family, go for it. Guess what? We all have our things that we do.
We have
that keeps
doctrine.
us-
I would say you and I have doctrine for how we interact.
Correct.
Yep. I would say
Yeah.
that.
Like that's just I think it's human nature. But I also feel like it's human nature to want to belong to something. Just like Sharon, you and I belong to the Litas, and like being around other Litas like feels empowering at times, and it
does.
feels like it's a movement, and it feels like it's somewhere that you belong. But at the same time, like it's a group, right? And we all have our own individual goals and things that we want to do in life, and we commiserate with the Litas, but then we go to live our own lives doing what we want to do. I just feel like any kind of social program or any kind of social kind of connection or anything like that, it's for you to have to connect with other people, because I feel like that's who we are as organisms. Like we need that connection, and we need to have other people that think and have like minds around us and give us that validation, and then also have people that don't think like us so that we can debate and kind of see other points of views. But at the same time, it doesn't mean like we have to be married to a certain ideology or can't think outside of whatever we believe in, right? So I think that that's kind of where things get messy, is when people just want to impose upon you their beliefs and what they feel and what they know to be true, and you probably don't have the same life experience, you don't feel the same way, and you might have differing opinions. So I don't know, I just feel like we should be open to discussion and debate and to thinking about those types of things.
I agree. And the point you made about force is where you lose me. Right? The moment that you decide that the way you see the world is the only way to see the world,
Right.
and everybody else has to capitulate. Everybody else has to do it your way, not because, okay, that doesn't mean that if someone shows me a way of doing something that I might not go, oh, that's a good way to do it, and copy that way, right? But what happens is that people do things that they believe is the right thing, but they need you to agree. Because if you don't agree, they're not confident. And it undermines their ability to see how they, well, maybe this isn't the right way. They don't know. Again, I say it so often. I see people's behavior as confessions. When people behave a certain way, I see it as this is their problem that they're displaying to me. They're laying it on me and expecting me to help them figure this out. And I think that most of the time I can, but where we lose it is whenever we disagree and I go, well, hey, listen, you live your way, I'll live my way. And they go, that's not okay.
There's not enough room for two truths.
There's not enough room for
or multiple truths.
Multiple truths. And so actually that's a very good point. I'm glad you said that, because this is something that I've been struggling with a lot, in that I never want to deny someone's lived experience and what they then take from that lived experience and portray to the world, their filter, whatever it is. I 100% believe that whatever they're experiencing, whatever they think, whatever they see, that is their experience and it's very true to them. It's very true. Okay. But collective truth, actual fact, lives outside of whatever your experience is. Whatever you experience can't change the color green. Whatever you experience can't change certain fundamental scientific principles about how things operate. So we have to understand that your truth, while it may be true, may not be productive for the rest of us in society. And we all have to kind of come together to be able to decide what are those things that you believe and I believe and she believes that are true, that do move us forward as a species.
Okay. So what I'm gathering is that you're saying that you can believe what you believe as long as it's not imposed upon like the collective.
On another person. Or on any other individual.
Yeah.
Like I have no right as a human being to tell you what to do with your body.
Right.
I may have an opinion on it, and I'm entitled to it, right or wrong. Whether I have the same ability to do what you do or not, I still have a right to my opinion on it. Now, my opinion may have to stay in a certain box because, well, maybe the collective or maybe everybody else doesn't agree with that. But that is my opinion. I'm entitled to it, and I should not be persecuted for it unless we've all agreed that this is a thing that is incredibly damaging to society, like killing another human. Yeah. It's very fundamental, right? We can all agree without any type of additional mystical whatever that it's wrong to kill another human being.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever it gets into the things that are nuanced and it might be a judgment call, well, that should be up to you.
Yeah.
And as long as it doesn't interfere with what I do, I don't give a shit.
I know.
And I don't give a shit to the point that I don't like it when you try to make me agree either.
Right.
Right. It's for instance, I'm going to say something there's a genuine question I have and it's not a mean question. It's not a accusing question. It's a genuine question. How can I, as a human being, affirm someone else's identity?
Okay.
How can I do that? My identity is mine. Your identity is yours. How can I tell you who you are? You can tell me who you are, and I can go, okay, well, based on whatever, I may see that a little different and don't agree with certain things about who you are, but who cares whether I agree or not? I don't like being compelled to have to forfeit my rational faculty, things that I know are black and white, just to make you feel better in a moment, because I have to take this faculty throughout the rest of my life.
But have you heard this phrase of we don't see people how they are, we see people how we are? So I see you through my lens, and I see Z through my lens, but other people will see you through their lens, it's no less accurate for me. But it's a kind of messes with your head a little bit of
does.
what's truth.
I think that's the way we see each other in general as a species, as human kind. I feel like whatever our upbringing was, whatever our values are, standards, all of that comes with a certain outlook on life, right? And so that's how we perceive the rest of the world, through our lens. That's a very good point, Sharon. I feel that as humans, we also need to be empathetic,
Yep.
right, to other people's experiences. Because we haven't all had the same life experience. There are people that
Agreed.
have grown up in terrible situations. I mean, I grew up not in the best situation, but there are people that grew up in way worse situations than I have. I mean, when I go to my dad's country of El Salvador and where my grandparents lived in Guatemala, seeing the third world through my own eyes and just seeing how different it is to live in those countries. But also, it's not to pity them. It's I love it. Actually, I kind of like, oh, gosh, so simple. Life is so much simpler here. I don't have the stress of having to live up to a certain standard. I don't have the stress of this and that. Maybe, but I don't live there, so I don't know what life is really like on that side of the world. I've experienced a little bit of it, but at the same time, I don't know because I haven't grown up there. I didn't live decades there in that environment. So I think that as people, we just need to be empathetic, kind of understand where people are coming from, but also know when bullshit is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Know when to call bullshit.
I think the fundamental line for me every time is, am I forced to do something against my will?
There you go.
If I could care less, I really could. I do not care what someone does with their life. I do not care what someone does in the privacy of their bedroom. I do not care about any of that. I don't care. I don't sit around going, oh, people are doing things that I don't like them. I got to stop that. I actually, I honestly think a lot of the problems we have with the aggressiveness within certain communities that are, we'll say it in the right way, which is fighting for rights. I blame like super conservative people for that. I always have.
Because they're not so open to
The church, yes, because they've been so, you're an abomination, you're this, you're that, well, when you back people into a corner like that, and you can't just let people be who they want to be, they're going to come out swinging, and it's going to be way worse than what you were originally arguing about. So I blame them a lot for it. What I can't blame them for is the complete loss of logic and reason. That's an individual thing. Now we're past the genesis. We're at the point of, you guys are going to a point where you're questioning fundamental principles that we've all grown up with.
Yeah. I feel like it's like to the extreme now, right?
It is.
Like, I feel like, all right, so they're going to push back on this. Let's just like go even further, and to the point where it doesn't make sense in some cases. But let's back off of that subject.
Okay.
And let's get into the fact that somebody commented on one of my reels on Instagram.
Yeah.
Something that was very kind of like ignorant, and I just don't appreciate it. So I posted this reel the other day about, I was on Chuck's bike and I was just like, hey, I want a black bike, because I miss having a black bike, because I actually had, Cottonmouth. My first bike was Black Mamba. She was black. Cottonmouth was black.
Diet Coke.
And then Road Glide, Callie, she's that Billard teal. Love her to death. But there's just something about a black bike, you know,
I do.
that I love.
They look hot.
So I posted on Instagram, and then this commenter who doesn't even follow me, so somebody that probably just saw the reel and wanted to.
Let's be clear. This person doesn't matter. It's just the
Correct.
mentality that you're, because
This-
we've dealt with it a couple of times.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the mentality. So this person commented, it's a male. He said, "Get a black man. That's a better thought." And at first I was just like, you know what?
By the way, y'all,
you.
when she first read this, she was upset. Like, my wife does not get like super worked up about social media stuff, but when you came to me, I was like, oh my God, what did she was like angry. I was like, what did somebody say?
Because it's just the point that, like, why does the race of my partner matter? Like, why does that even matter? Like, what is a black man going to do for me what Chuck doesn't do for me? If Chuck was black, would that matter? Like, those types of things just really get on my nerves, because number one, I'm half black and half Hispanic. Yes, my mom's genes are very, very strong, and I love him. But these are things that my parents dealt with 40 plus years ago, when the mentality was very different from today's society. And honestly, I don't run into a lot of these situations on social media. It's either, you know, people really rooting for Chuck and I because they can see that love knows no color, love knows no race, love has no boundaries like that.
Sounds like a life. Coming this fall,
Yeah, Chuck and
love knows no boundaries,
Z. Chuck and Z,
no race.
the love story.
The love story.
But I'm just being honest with how I feel and what I think, because honestly, who are you to tell me who I should be with?
Nobody.
Or not.
He's nobody to tell you that.
Right. But if that's one voice, that's probably a lot of other people's opinions. And guess what? If you're that close-minded about having to stick to a certain demographic or ethnicity or race in order to find your mate, then you'll probably be unhappy the rest of your life, because that's love knows no boundaries. Love has no color. Love has no gender, right? It's just about who you're attracted to, who gets that going for you, and who is there to support you and be with you no matter what. And that's who I have in Chuck. So whatever people think, they can see. They know. They know. So they're just being haters and ignorant. And I don't like ignorance. That's one thing that just makes me upset. It's like, it's not about who he is, where he came from. I mean,
Can I ask a question?
What?
Do I get to call that racism?
I think it's racism, because, like,
I think it is.
if
I mean,
if I were a white female posting that I want a black bike, would that be the same thing?
I've thought about it. Like, can I give him an altruistic reason for saying that? And I can't. It's either you think white people are inferior, or you don't like people mixing races.
Right. Which are
It's
both
one of those two
racist
things. There's no other reason why you
thoughts.
would say something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give it too much whatever, but I'm just to the point where I feel that people are is that the right word? Propagating
Yep.
these thoughts and these mentalities, and like trying to keep people from being happy, trying to keep races divided in the most diverse country
To ever
in
exist.
the freaking world. And here we are still trying to keep these walls up, and which makes no sense, because we've come so far as a people. We've come so far. I think I posted it on Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day. It's like, my mom was a black woman in Houston, Texas, and she was born in 1944. So you can only imagine what she went through, right? She would have been 80 years old or so this year. So she'd gone through a lot. She went through sit-ins at cafeterias, you know, where black people weren't allowed, whites only. She was one of the first black secretaries for the Capitol businesses in Houston, Texas. And she was a revolutionary. She was a part of the Nation of Islam. She then went to just being a Sufi Muslim. And I grew up in a Islamic family. Like, I was a Muslim when I grew up. So went through all of that to get to the point where I love who I love. And here I am getting hate for it. So I just feel like we can do better.
I think we can too. And I would actually pull you back to where you mentioned Dr. King, because that's what he thought, right? He thought we could do better.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. When I listened to Dr. King speak when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
when I would listen to those messages from a lot of civil rights leaders of all types, whether it was the gay movement, black movement, whatever, I never thought their message was for people who looked like them. I always thought their message was for me, right? Because they don't have to convince the people that already believe the way they believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're trying to reach a kid like me,
Mm-hmm.
a kid that grew up in rural South Carolina with Confederate flags everywhere and the N-word being used as a descriptor, not as a insult. That's what you said.
Yeah.
To the point where I'll tell you a quick story. My brother got beat up on a bus one time, my older brother, Ronnie. And I remember as a kid this event very well because he called a kid on the bus the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother kept asking, but that's what I was told they were called. That's what they're called, right? He didn't understand. Like it had been so ingrained in him by the people that we had been around. And again, a lot of these people have grown over time, but that he didn't understand. So he just said what he was taught to say. And eventually he learned and understood. Anyways, those are the people I grew up around. This was a common thing. The school was like 45, 55, right? 45% black, 55% white. And it was a constant people against people. It was just my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I hear Dr. King say things like content of character, not color of skin. These are the things that you're supposed to, and I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did I hear it, I believed it. I learned it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it helped me my entire life to eschew everything that I had learned growing up. Eschew. I always think about Elizabeth Shue when I say that.
I know.
I don't know why, but it's a great word. I love the word eschew. But to get rid of all of that programming or whatever, not even programming, it's just what you were around.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, but as a child, it is programming because that's what you're raised on, and that's what your that's what forms your early thinking. Are the people that you are around. I mean, your brain doesn't fully form until you're 25, so you're just a sponge.
Yeah.
And you are incorrigible, and you are soaking up all of the atmosphere and everybody that's around you. I can say that it was the total opposite for me growing up because I grew up in Utah, and there was like less than 1% African Americans in Utah when I was there. I think my high school probably had like, I can count on a hand how many people were black that was in my school. But people use the N-word. It was cool back then, right? It was supposedly one of those cool words that everybody used.
I can't imagine though. That's so counterintuitive.
It
to my
is.
brain.
It is. But it was like growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s where that hip hop culture was out there. Everybody wanted to be in the in crowd and cool and West Coast hip hop, all that. You know, that was when actually West Coast was against the East Coast, and there was those battles between Tupac and Biggie. That's the era that I grew up in. I knew when they passed away, when they died, when they were shot, when they were killed. And I feel like we've done a lot since then. I feel like, honestly, the hip hop culture is relegated, the word that I want to use. Like, it's regaled.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people
Regaled.
Okay. And that's kind of like where all the youth are pointed towards, right?
Right.
They love hip hop. They love that culture. They love everything that has to do with that. But yet we're so put upon.
Well, so I think the interesting thing, though, is now it's 2023 and I'm 47.
Which is insane.
And I have these mantras, these things that I educated myself on as a child because I thought they were a better way to be a human.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. King is a big one. Content of character. Again, I'm going to say it again. Content of character, not color of skin. Thank you. Thank
Aw.
you. Cheers.
Cheers.
And now I feel like every single day I'm being told you have to take into consideration someone's color in every interaction. We've talked about this before. I don't ever think about us as being an interracial relationship. I think it's Chuck and Z. That's all I think until other people go and say something about it. So it's the things that have changed that I'm struggling with are content of character, not color of skin. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I used to be told, ignore them. Now it's like, no, words are violence. Words are violence. And I'm like, no, I was taught that I may not like what you say, but as an American citizen, I should defend your right to say it.
Right.
And I 100% believe that. So 3 of the main principles I grew up with was that, and that. And now everything is going in the opposite direction to where, no, they shouldn't be allowed to say. I always thought that stupid ideas will not win out.
I know.
That's how I see it. You beat bad ideas with better ideas.
Yeah.
You have to hear the bad ideas. You have to hear what that asshole has to say. Because I'll give you an example. I just mentioned when I grew up, the Confederate flag. I don't get it. I will never understand it. It makes no sense to me. I really don't understand it. Like, we're going to put the flag up and South's going to rise again. And I'm like, I had a guy tell me, well, you don't understand. My great grandpappy fought and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, did you know him? You weren't there. I bet he was an asshole. I bet he was.
I know.
You didn't know that guy. Why do you feel so tied to someone who died 3 generations ago fighting a losing war? I don't understand it.
There's so many people.
But even though I don't get it, even though I do not in a million years understand why you would want to put that on your vehicle or fly around with one that's 10 foot tall, I don't get it. I support your right to do it.
Yeah.
You have every right. As a matter of fact, I hope you do it. Let me know not to come over for dinner. I know where not to go if that's on your door. I get it, right? I support you flying whatever you want to fly.
Yeah.
I just don't. If you were to ask me
Don't
about
impose that
it,
upon myself, upon me. Yeah.
That's-
My thinking, and
right.
don't make me feel like I'm bad for thinking that. Hey, I don't want that.
So my point is that everything is going in the opposite direction to where now everything needs to be controlled. And as we said earlier, to bring this full circle, I expect governments to try to overstep their bounds. I expect politicians to lie to me. I expect Donald Trump to try to make as much fucking money as he can from whatever he's doing. I expect Joe Biden to do the same. I expect Nancy Pelosi to use insider trading to help her family. I expect all of that. That's not news to me. Every time a politician's a piece of shit. Oh, really? Surprise. That doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
It shocks me when the citizens line up behind these people and go, Nancy Pelosi's just good.
Yeah. Because that's just like straight up putting your blinders on and not wanting to see what truth really is with any of these situations, right?
All of them.
All the situations. I feel like from the beginning, from when we had the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence.
We're so far from it.
Right? It's like the forefathers of America had thoughts and so many ideas of where we could be. And I think that we've gotten there. I didn't choose to be born in America, but I'm glad that I was.
I didn't choose to be born here either.
Because of the melting pot that America is, because my dad was able to come from El Salvador to find freedom in America from the civil wars in El Salvador, right?
Yep.
And to make a life for himself and to raise children with my mom and to have a great life. And afforded me the opportunity to be born here and to experience a lot of different cultures, being raised in an interracial family with my mom being African American and my dad being El Salvadorian, and also having siblings that were half siblings that weren't mine, right? And experiencing different things. I mean, I've tasted so many delicious meals here in America with African food, Italian food, Hispanic food, Native American food.
You go to Italy and you're just like, this all you got? It's just the entire food?
mean, Asian, so many different cuisines. So
Y'all need to broaden y'all's horizons.
so
Where's
much.
the shrimp scampi?
I know.
I don't even think that's a real Italian
It's not.
food. Okay.
How dare you?
Thank you, girl.
All right, so
But just like, and why are we having so many issues? I think it's what you said the other day. It's like we're bored
we are bored.
as a species,
We are bored.
right?
We are bored. We should have no problems. Well, first, let me say one thing first. I love the concept of this country. I love what America is supposed to be. As a matter of fact, I think you and I, as arrogant as this might sound, are very clear examples that you can do it here in America. Do I feel like I've achieved some great whatever? No. But I will say that starting where I started in a single wide trailer, sometimes without enough to eat,
I know.
right? With numerous brothers and sisters, all of these problems, and no concept of what even a college is, much less the opportunity to go do something like
100%.
that, right? Versus now,
I mean, my dad had an 8th grade education.
the two of us I think it's a quote, it's not mine, that walls exist to keep out the people who don't want it bad enough, right? And I just feel like every single time, good, bad, and different, didn't always work out.
Yes.
Luckily, sometimes I made the right decisions, but when something was put in my way, it wasn't, shit, well, that's it. I guess I'm just stuck here.
Hold up. It's like the documentary you just saw on Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was
Arnold,
a
yes,
freaking
great amazing
documentary.
I haven't seen it.
Because I don't know who, I just know that I grew up loving Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, he was somebody that was cool. He was a movie star. He was this guy who dominated on, muscle building stages, and he made a name for himself. The documentary was even more amazing to know that he was only freaking 20 years old
when he left
home.
Here.
He's
Probably
younger
didn't
than
speak English or whatever.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
barely.
did not speak English very well at all, but knew that America was where he wanted to go. He was like, grew up in this beautiful country in Austria, beautiful, but he grew up poor. He grew up without having people that his family didn't support him the whole time, but he knew that he wanted to be a bodybuilder, and he knew that was his goal, and he accomplished that goal in 5 years.
Wow.
5 years.
I
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think we're in danger of losing that. And I think that's what worries me about
What America is about.
Yes, because it's supposed to be that I don't care who you are or
Yeah.
where you're from.
You can come
You
here.
put the work in, you put the time in, you put the effort in, you're going to make it.
Right.
And we're quickly getting to, you have to be chosen.
Yes.
You have to be selected. You have to be on the right team. You have to have the right mentality. You have to think the right way. We're getting starbucked to the point where everything's just going to be homogenized and everybody's going to have the same opinion and we're all going to be terrified of speaking out. 1984. That's where we're heading. And again, I know I'm on this soapbox about it. I just don't understand the people lining up to go along with it. I just don't understand it. I don't understand anyone who wants anybody, any other human, outside of the ones they choose, to have any say-so over how they live their life on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I think that some people don't think they're capable. They've been convinced or they've been put in this box where they just don't think that they can achieve, or at least they can't achieve the way they want, or something.
I think
I struggle. I hear people talk and I go,
Yeah.
why don't you see that your biggest problem is you?
because they've been convinced that they're not their biggest problem. That everybody else around them who has more and
It's
who can
this guy
achieve
holding
more,
you back and this guy holding you
that
back.
is their biggest problem. And that's the biggest problem in the workforce today. That's the biggest problem in education today. It's a big problem. And I really hope and pray that we get to a point where, guess what? We don't have that many problems here in America.
Yeah, all right. So that's what we were saying earlier. We don't. Okay. So we shouldn't. Every day we send billions and billions and billions of dollars overseas that we just magically find.
Right. What happened to that? Wasn't there like a couple of $13 billion or something? It was crazy, that budget mishap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For the Ukraine.
So they basically said, this is like you and I going to the IRS and saying, we valued our vehicles wrong. You owe us money.
Right.
That's exactly what they did.
Right.
They basically said that the assets that we've sent them were valued at this much, but we didn't take into account depreciation, so we actually can send them more.
Right.
That's basically what they did. They created a way
Yeah.
to
Magical.
send more money
Magical.
over to the Ukraine to fight this proxy war with Russia.
Magic.
Which it's magic. It's magic. These are the same people that put the magic bullet theory on us. So why would we not expect them to magically find billions to direct to the Ukraine?
Yeah.
Not to get the shit off of the streets of San Francisco.
Right.
Not
Literal.
to fix our infrastructure, which, by the way, is very vulnerable and crumbling. The Chinese have pinged it like 12 times now.
Damn.
Like, we keep finding this money to send elsewhere when we have all these issues here.
Right. That we can solve pretty
So
quickly.
my every time they come up on the news and these politicians start arguing about, we should this, what am I listening to? Who are you convincing? Who are you trying to convince of something? Because I can see where you're spending the money.
Yeah,
How do you never pass an audit?
I know.
The people that are responsible for auditing us,
Right.
you better
Never
have your
pass.
receipts.
Right.
Where are your receipts?
Or you go to jail.
Right? The Pentagon's like,
Yeah.
$6 billion? We don't know.
Our bad. We forgot we had that hidden somewhere. What I don't understand
We don't know.
is how so many people just hop on the bandwagon. I feel like I talk to people that have the same thought process as you and I and Sharon, you. And I feel like we're all in cahoots, right? We all are on the same page. Like,
Yeah.
something crazy is going on. And yet, when it comes down to it, everybody just kind of falls in line
Follows along.
and
Goes
follows along. For why? For what reason?
Comfort.
Comfort of what?
They don't want to. The greatest fear most people have is public speaking, and I think that that's evolution. I think that back in our evolutionary times, we were afraid to get up in front of the tribe and speak because it meant something was some shit was going down, something was wrong. You might be in trouble. So I think that most people can't take that whole. You don't think the way
being
I
put on the
think.
spot.
They you don't think the way I think. It's like they can't take that whole interaction. Whereas I'm like, no,
You're very good at it.
I don't agree with you. Let's talk about it.
I can totally agree with you guys who are uncomfortable with confrontation and like having abstract thoughts, because I'm that person that is uncomfortable sometimes with my own thoughts and my own ideas. And it's not a bad thing. Like, be uncomfortable, but then also get uncomfortable to talk about it.
Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because what's going to happen is that the majority of the people that think and feel the same way that you do won't have voices, because we're so scared to talk up about what we believe in and what's right.
Yeah.
Not what is right to gain social points.
We've talked
Right?
about, you and I have talked about the argument from intimidation a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that human beings do to win arguments when they don't really have a way to get you to understand what they're saying. So they want emotional bravado to convince you that you're wrong. They send negative emotions your way. So I'll give you a small example. I love Matrix Revolutions. Oh my God, you love Matrix Revolutions?
Mm-hmm.
That movie was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
What
and
a
then,
horrible thing to say.
no,
People
oh my
are
God, you
awful.
like that movie? People under that will question,
They start questioning themselves.
or they'll at least not want to say again that they liked it. So
Right.
they will immediately censor themselves
yeah.
and say, well, I mean, it was good. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first one. But they'll immediately give it to them. But
Yeah.
just because that person disapproves, and a lot of people use that in arguments to get their way, to push somebody else into a direction.
You see it all the time.
Whereas I don't ever fall for that, because what I believe and what I think is not based on what you believe or think. It's all based on how I evaluate things, what
Right.
I think about things.
Right.
So when someone goes, you like you like Manchester Road? Why? Oh, well, because I thought that it was a great continuance of the story. Why don't you like it? Explain to me. What I've learned, especially now on movies, small examples, you can get into debates. But someone will say, you don't really support that candidate, do you? And you're like, well, I do. Why don't you? Tell me, explain. And they'll give you a soundbite of something. What does that mean? Tell me more about tell me about that. Because tell me about that. I read about that too, but I read this and you tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
They will eventually get to where it's
stuck.
a blank stare.
They don't know.
Because they don't have any
They don't have an argument.
actual foundation for how they feel. They're just going along with the party.
Right.
And you were sticking out of the party, so they attacked you for it.
Right.
And they have no idea how to handle it when you're not intimidated by their emotional disapproval.
Right. Yeah. This was a really interesting and
I told y'all I was in the mood tonight.
very hot.
Can I say one thing that's fun?
What?
Oh my God, I heard my bike.
I know.
I heard my bike. Y'all want to hear it?
Yes.
Y'all want to hear the bike?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Hold up, guys. He's
Oh my
gonna
God.
show us what his bike sounds like.
Oh my God, I'm so
Did you roll
excited.
your eyes?
And guess what?
What?
I'm pretty freaking jealous
I don't know if y'all noticed, but
of your bike.
the skateboard is
He has a
up.
skateboard here. Did you? Oh, you can't take it off the wall.
I can't.
Yeah.
But I'll put this up to a camera so y'all can see it. But
So he has his skateboard, and I have my.
y'all want to hear one of
skateboard.
the sexiest sounds? Here we
All
go.
right. So what you got?
Here we go. One second. He's gonna start it up. Oh my God! Listen to that bad boy. Y'all want to see it? Hold on.
What's that? Is that 550 cam up in that?
Here comes Chuck.
He's gonna show his bike.
Hang on.
I'm so jealous.
It's not focusing.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
There it is, Chuck.
Oh my God. So Chuck has an orange and black bike. If you didn't know, it's orange.
But it's super red.
No, it's orange. He all of a sudden loves the color orange. He said Clemson is his favorite football team now. And he's going to add some purple highlights to the bike
for anyone
to
who
match.
For anyone who knows me, it's Go Cox all the way, baby. I am a Gamecock fan, y'all.
Wow.
How dare you put that sacrilege on me that I'm a Clemson fan?
I'm kidding.
I wouldn't care if the earth opened up and swallowed that school.
Yeah. So I love Kiddo.
Oh my
Volume
God,
2.
she looks so good.
She's amazing. We just watched freaking Kill Bill this last couple of weeks.
Yes, we
watched
did.
Kill Bill 1 and 2, and they were just as amazing.
Just as good.
As before. So those are the movies that our bikes are kind of based on. But
named after and based on.
thank you so much for hanging with us. I know this was a little bit of a different podcast, just us four kind of going into the social and political kind of just dipping our toes a little bit up in there because, I mean, we live our lives and we live in America and we have to talk about what's relevant and what's really going on out there and how we feel about it.
I think it's time, I believe strongly certain things, and I would love to have conversations with people who would be willing to dive deeply into these things with me, because I'm not married to any idea I have.
No.
But you're definitely going to have to do some work to get me. And that's what I seek in every one of these conversations, is someone to say something or do something that gives me a different outlook on something, that allows me to see their position so that I can take that into consideration whenever I'm calculating how I feel about things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on certain topics, it's usually fluff what people bring my way.
Yeah. But also, it's not like you only listen to one side of
I listen to everything.
An idea about what a topic is. It's like, okay, I'm going to listen to this side of the topic, and then I'm going to listen to this side of the topic.
I do.
And then I'm going to make my own informed judgment about what is right and what's wrong. So if you know us at all, it's that we are very, very open-minded when it comes to listening to opinions about different subjects. But ignorance is ignorance, and you can't debate that. So
yeah,
all I'm going to say is thank you so much. This was a Just For, pretty intense, but
yeah, no, guys, thank you so
fun.
much. Thank you so much for joining the podcast tonight. Thank you for letting us rant a little bit. I think that I'm just going to have to put a segment in called I Don't Get It.
yeah.
I don't understand
Where
this.
you can go off on it.
Where I can go off. Where y'all are like, Chuck, all right, just go for 10 minutes. And then we'll get back to the regular podcast after that. But
yeah, next week, though, and next Monday, come join us next Monday. We'll have Jessica Brown on, Bikes and Balayage.
Jess.
On Instagram. She's a great friend. We met her last Sturgis. We all spent the week in Sturgis in South Dakota for Sturgis 22. We had a great time. We've been hanging out ever since. And so it was really fun to have her on the podcast next week to kind of talk about Sturgis coming up and anything else that she has planned for the year. So that's going to be fun.
And we got Milwaukee 120. We got Harley Davidson 120 next week. Going to Milwaukee.
Right. We're going to Milwaukee next Thursday.
Then Sturgis.
Super excited about that. And then Sturgis. And then who knows? But
Sturgis.
hoping to get updates on our bikes this week for final kind of,
I think they're done.
We're done. You guys can come pick them up and come enjoy them and ride them. So really excited about that.
All right, Z.
Yes, the big reveal.
Tell the people.
All right, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Z883 and InstaChuckgram, and our lovely producer, Sharon Klein.
Producer Chaos.
But her handle is Sharon Klein on Instagram. Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
bye, everybody. Have
All
a good
right.
one.
Peace.